Go. Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Rio de la Vista, your host. I'm director of the Salazar Rio Grande del Norte Center here at Adams State University. Thank you so much for being here on a Saturday morning to join our conversation about this very vital issue of water and the state of the Rio Grande Basin. Naturally, we wish we could all be in person together, but I'm grateful we have the technology to gather virtually and to share this information and ideas about the critical water issues that we're all facing. And I imagine we all feel a sense of relief with the snow that we received this past week, and it certainly helps us breathe easier. But as we'll learn even more today, our valley's water challenges are much larger and far more long-lasting than one season or 1 year's water supply. So to start off, I want to share the Adams State University land acknowledgement. We, the Adams State University community, gratefully acknowledge Indigenous peoples on whose ancestral lands we gather. This beautiful San Luis Valley is sacred to many Indigenous nations, including the Utes, Hickory, Apache, Comanches, Kiowas, Arapaho, Cheyenne, Navajo, Pueblos, and all other First Peoples who once made this valley their home. We honor the diverse communities that historically dwelled here and those who currently reside in the San Luis Valley. We know that honoring these lands is a reflective process that demands continued engagement and action. May we always remember the journey of past peoples who called this valley home. Now, I want to take a moment to thank some people and our sponsors for this symposium today. First, thanks to Angelina O'Connor, my colleague at the Salazar Center, who's helped so much in every aspect of the program planning for today and much more. You'll see her lovely design work in our materials and outreach, including the layout for the agenda and the brand new Rio Grande Glossary of water terms, which you can find both of those in the link that is posted in the chat. Hopefully that glossary will be a useful resource for all of us who are learning the complex language of water. Also thanking Chloe Dixon, the graduate student who's here in the Valley learning about water and helping us with this event. Michael Carson, Tech Master Extraordinaire with the Rio Grande Water Conservation District, and so much more. And our Valley's own Don Richmond for the use of his music for our opening video. And my many colleagues at Adams State who help with various aspects of this event and our overall water education efforts. Dr. Peg Blake, Linda Relier, Temi Lopez, Dr. Nick Sines, President Dr. Lovell, and so many others who help us with programs and projects. And a big thanks to all the presenters who'll be sharing their expertise and knowledge with us today. Also want to thank our sponsors. Once again, our co-host for the symposium is the Rio Grande Water Conservation District. We're very grateful to the board of the district for their generous support of this and so many community efforts over so many years. The Colorado Water Conservation Board, the San Luis Valley chapter of Trout Unlimited, so we know those fish need water too. Headwaters Alliance, which is doing such important work addressing the legacy mining issues in the Creed area. Colorado who, along with many other conservation organizations, is doing great work in the Valley to help us keep our land and water intact and healthy for the long term. The Conejos Water Conservancy District, who are leading many efforts on sustainability along the Conejos River. The San Luis Valley Water Conservancy District, which serves much of the Valley's water needs. The San Luis Valley Irrigation District, managed by Rob Phillips, who thankfully is bringing his expertise to teach the Water 201 class this semester, which is one of the courses in our new Water Studies minor degree, now being offered at Adams State. Kagosic and Associates, Christine Arbogast, who's a lobbyist for the Rio Grande Water Conservation District, make sure we have a strong voice with our legislators. And finally, the Off Island Ranch, Susie Off, who with her family cares for a beautiful stretch of the Rio Grande and who raise natural grass-fed beef. Thank you all. Now, to launch into our topic for today, as many of you know, late last year, Colorado lost one of its most knowledgeable water experts and most steadfast supporters of water education, a retired member of Colorado Supreme Court, Justice Greg Hobbs. We were so honored to have Justice Hobbs speak for the Salazar Center here at Adams State in November of 2019. We'll post the link to that talk here in the chat so you can watch his talk on the history, culture, and poetry of Colorado water. And just note that you can find recordings of all the past symposiums there and other community water talks, and we'll post the recording of today's symposium there soon. So just after we lost Justice Hobbs, I was revisiting his book of water poems called Colorado, Mother of Rivers. I was thinking about water scarcity as the theme for this year's symposium. And then I turned the page and there were these words: in scarcity, the opportunity for community. And it just felt to me that my dear friend and mentor, Greg Hobbs, was still advising me. So that's the poetic and timely theme for today. In scarcity, the opportunity for community. I think as we hear from many knowledgeable and passionate water experts and advocates today, that theme will hold true. We're indeed facing water scarcity in our basin from several major directions. We'll hear about the internal cause, the overpumping of our groundwater, resulting aquifer depletion in the valley, and the local solutions that are being worked on. We'll hear about the external threat, the latest scheme to export water from the valley in the form of a proposal from the so-called Renewable Water Resources group of investors. And finally, there's an overarching cause, the changing climate, causing increased aridity, changes in the time amount of snow and rain that we receive here in the valley, across the West, indeed around the world. So it's just as Hobbes said, scarcity can also create the opportunity for community. If we will take it, if we will make it. No one can do that for us, but together there's much we are doing, much more we can do to be more resilient, to be stewards of our land and our scarce water supply, to pass on a viable future for this valley to the next generation. So in honor of Justice Greg Hobbs, I'm going to start the morning off with one of his poems, inspired by our place here in Colorado atop the Great Continental Divide, which defines our landscape, the flow of our waters, and the nature of our communities. It's entitled Coloradans. To each of us, the land, the air, the water, mountain, canyon, mesa, plain, lightning bolts, clear days with no rain. At the source of all thirst, quenching hope, at the root and core of time and no time, the great divide community stands astride the backbone of the continent, gathering, draining, reflecting, sending forth a flow so powerful it seeps rhythmically from within. Alive to each of us to drink, to swim, to grow corn ears, to listen to our children float the streams of their own magnificence. Out of their seeping dreams, out of their useful silliness, out of their source mouth high and pure, the great divide, you and I, all that lives and floats and flies and passes through, all we know of why. Thank you, Greg Hobbs. And now to introduce our master of ceremonies for the day, Armando Valdez. A Valley native, Armando ranches with his family near Capulín. He taught business. He taught in the business school here at Adams State for 17 years. And he serves on too many boards and committees to name. I will say that he is the vice president of the Rio Water Conservation District. Armando has been a great champion and guide for the Salazar Center and our water education initiative here at Adams State, for which I'm really very grateful. And as of last year, Armando took on a new role. He was appointed to be the Colorado Director for the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Office of Rural Development. So I'm sure he'll continue to serve the Valley and now the entire state very well in this essential role. So thank you for guiding us through the program today, Armando. Over to you.
Thank you, Rio, and thank you very much for the introduction as we're able to get together this morning and discuss, the state of the basin for the Rio Grande. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this annual conversation that we have here in the San Luis Valley. I'm very excited to be here with you today. As Rio indicated earlier, there's always an urgent and critical discussion around water, and it seemed to become even more urgent and critical over the past year. Lots of exciting things have happened. Lots of other developments have happened over the past year, and so that's why we want to bring this conversation and need to have it on a regular basis. First of all, I come to this role wearing many hats. And the first one is farmer and rancher. I farm and ranch as part of my family farm operation near Capulín, Colorado. I'm very, very proud of that history and roots that have in the southwest part of the San Luis Valley. Water is very critical to our operations. I definitely know that the daily impact that it has, especially on an agriculture operation. I was a former professor at Adams State University, and this past year, Rio and I initiated the water education's minor and studies at Adams State University and taught the Water 101 course. So that was the very exciting development to bring in a whole host of diverse perspectives, giving opportunity for people to learn about new aspects, not only as it pertains to the San Luis Valley and the Rio Grande Basin, but water in general. And so that water essentials class was actually, a great introduction to many people, and to hopefully develop those water leadership aspects for our basin. It continues on now with Rob Phillips teaching the second iteration of that course this semester, in the spring semester. And then, as Rio mentioned, I have been appointed by President Biden as State Director for Rural Development in the United States Department of Agriculture. And I come with that role in wanting to make an impact around the state of Colorado. And then finally, I do serve on the Rio Grande Water Conservation District as a director from Conejos County. Very proud to represent Conejos County on the district board, and wanting to ensure that we have appropriate representation from around the valley on these essential water issues. But today I'm with you as your Master of Ceremonies in my personal capacity, because I am so passionate about the impact that we need to make and the conversations we need to have to learn more about our water in the Rio Grande Basin. And so any statements that I have today do not reflect any formal representation of the United States Department of Agriculture or my position in rural development. These are Armando Valdez's statements and positions as a native son of the San Luis Valley, wanting to have this conversation and wanting us to find win-win positive solutions for our district. Now, I do hear a little bit of feedback from some microphones out there. I'm not sure if someone may have their mic still on, but we'd please ask you to mute him to ensure that we can appropriately hear all of our speakers. But to kick us off for our symposium today, Angie, my wonderful assistant, is going to put up a poll question. We want to first find out where people are from that are joining us for the symposium this morning. We want to find out where you live. And so we're going to see if we have that poll question available, and you're going to be able to choose from a set of options, because we'd like to see where the representation is coming from, and where we can make this interactive as well in this conversation, even though we are in a virtual environment. So where do you live? Are you here in the Rio Grande Basin with us in Colorado? Are you, and I guess the Rio Grande Basin would probably extend over into the portions of northern New Mexico. Are you in the San Luis Valley? Are you somewhere else in Colorado, or are you outside of Colorado? So if you might take a few moments to be able to tell us where you're at, it'll give people an indication, and I believe Angie will be able to show the results and share the results so we can see where we have participation in our symposium. So there you see it, a lot of people from the San Luis Valley and some from the Rio Grande Basin, but we do have people elsewhere in Colorado, and then we do have people outside of Colorado as well. So welcome to all of you, and definitely contributes to the conversation. We do have another poll question before we get started. And we'll see if Angie can get it up here, or as you see those results that are there. We'll see if we can get the next poll question up. It will talk about your relationship with water in the Rio Grande and with the Rio Grande Basin. Are you interested? Are you a surface irrigator, groundwater irrigator? You serve on a particular board or committee that's associated with it? Do you recreate with it, play in it? Do you use it to water your lawn, maybe garden, something else that's there? You just like to drink it, want to know more? And this is one where you have a multiple choice, or use it as your ice cubes for your whiskey. And I guess that is the advantage of having this in a virtual environment. I think I mentioned last year, you can bring your margaritas, your whiskey, and have them with you this morning. So there are some advantages to this virtual context. So lots of different options there. Definitely a lot of interest in it, a lot of concern about what's happening with the water future. I think that's one of the urgent and critical aspects we have seen over the last year is the future. The future has many pathways, and how do we make good decisions on those pathways to move forward, I think is very, very critical. And these discussions have even a greater emphasis as we look forward to those future pathways. How do we decide? How do we decide what's best for different regions and different areas? How do we use this resource, which isn't infinite? It does have a limitation. We have seen that with the climate impact and climate change. So critical factors. We do use it for irrigation, but we know that water definitely has a multiple use, from a domestic use to a recreational use. There is definitely many different aspects associated with this critical, essential, vital resource just to our lives and livelihood. So thank you very much for answering our first poll questions. Rio has indicated in the chat that we do have a water glossary as well. And I just see Charles, you added another good question. Water rights holder, you know, maybe you don't irrigate with it, you use it another way, but it's a property right. And I think that's an excellent point. Thank you for sharing that. But just wanted to also redirect you back to the glossary, the water glossary that Rio has been putting together. We keep adding to it, we keep contributing to it, because there are many terms that we sometimes use in a water context that we sometimes take for granted, especially for those of us who are heavily involved in water in different facets and from different perspectives. We kind of assume that everyone knows different terms that we're using and sometimes acronyms that we're using. That's not always the case. So it's great that we've been compiling, and Rio has definitely been a champion of leading that assembly of all those different terms and definitions that we use in our water world.